Good afternoon. The court's going to take up the next case on the court's docket. This is cause number C190147 CPS. This is in the interest of Preston Leva, a child. The case is set for permanency hearing and pretrial. The case is currently set for trial September 1st, 2021 at 4 p.m. The hearing today is being conducted pursuant to emergency orders of the Texas Supreme Court via Zoom video conference. Participating in the trial or the hearing today on behalf of the department is caseworker Trey Davis and regional attorney Deborah Keenum. The mother of the child is Michelle Leva. She is not currently participating in the hearing, and as far as I can determine, the court would note that the court had previously appointed Ty Grote as her attorney ad litem and then subsequently discharged him from that appointment. For the reasons noted in the court file, Ms. Leva has not subsequently filed a request for a court-appointed attorney, and no attorney purporting to represent her has entered an appearance in the case on her behalf. The father of the child is Brandon Gutierrez, who I believe is incarcerated at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice facility. The court has appointed Jero Holguin as his attorney, and Mr. Holguin is present in the virtual courtroom. The attorney and guardian ad litem for the child is Tom Davidson, and Mr. Davidson is not present due to a court conflict. Mary Palace is present as the caregiver for the child. She is also, I believe, the paternal grandmother of the child. I also show on my screen Cheryl Mendez with Pathways, who I believe is the case manager for the placement. The child is excused from participating in the hearing today. If we are ready to proceed, I would ask Mr. Davis and Ms. Palos, if each of you could raise your right hands, please. Each of you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give today before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. All right, if we're ready to proceed, Ms. Keenan, you can call your first.
Yes, Your Honor, the department would call Trey Davis.
All right, you can proceed.
Please state your name for the record. Oh, I think you're
I think you're muted.
Twice in one day. Trey Davis.
Let's begin with how is Preston doing in his current placement?
He's doing very well there. He adjusted to the home quite a long time ago. He's there with his paternal sister. Does well in school, does well at home. He no longer sees a therapist. He can just see her as he needs to, if he needs to, but he successfully completed with her, and there's been no issues there.
And how did he finish out his school year?
He finished out with passing grades. He had perfect attendance, and I just found out he was voted the nice, like the kindest kid or nicest kid.
What is the permanency plan for Preston?
The permanency plan right now is relative adoption by Miss Palos.
And has she gone through all the process, or she's in the process of her licensing, so she's ready and able to complete that adoption?
Yes, she's completed her licensing and is a foster placement now for the child, a relative foster placement.
We had actually, last time we were all together, the mother was a final trial, and the mother came to court and wanted the opportunity to work services. After that trial, what efforts has she made to work any services?
Since then, I haven't had any contact with her. She did get arrested briefly, late last month. She did in March, which was, I believe, before that though, but I didn't have the results yet. But she did participate in a drug test that I requested her do, but all other requests she hasn't answered. I haven't been able to get a hold of her at the home or on the phone or on text. I did get a hold of her mother, and she was going to have her get back with me, but I was never able to get anything back from mom. So I've lost contact with mom again.
So she was arrested on or about June the 26th. Do you know what she was arrested for?
I believe it was arrested for either trespassing or fines. I meant to write it down before I came to court, and I forgot what it was, but
Okay.
It wasn't a previous charge that she had.
So it's a new charge.
Yes.
And have you stopped by the house since that time we went and showed up to court to attempt to gain access to the house and see whether or not it was safe or appropriate?
Yes, ma'am. I've been to the home and also made phone calls and texts.
And she's still not allowing access to the home?
Not to the home, no, ma'am.
As far as Mr. Gutierrez, has he continued to maintain contact with you?
He maintains contact through mail. I haven't received anything from him in a while. He does maintain contact through his mother, and he does maintain contact with Preston, and he has a weekly or sometimes more than weekly, but very regular phone calls with Preston. And according to Ms. Palos, those are appropriate, and she does supervise those phone calls. And
it is your understanding that he still desires to relinquish his rights and have his mother adopt his son?
The last I'd heard, he wants his mother to adopt his son. I think he had expressed that he had some questions that he wanted answered prior to relinquishing or making any kind of agreement like that. And so he wanted to discuss with his lawyer what his what his rights were and what everything meant, so it could be explained to him better.
But he previously expressed the desire that his mother, he believes his mother is an appropriate placement for his child.
Yes, ma'am.
Pass the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Holguin. Did you have any questions for Mr. Davis?
Judge, there has been some testimony that has come out that it's not to get into too much detail, in line with what my client would desire for the child, Brandon Gutierrez. And I'd like to make a verbal motion for a continuance so I can resubmit a motion so the client can be present and offer his testimony as to what he wants to be done with the child. The continuance shouldn't be more than 3 weeks. I think this is very important. This case relates to his constitutional right to be a parent, especially given the testimony that the department has already offered as to what the permanency goals are in regards to this child. And I would just like the court to respectfully grant our motion for a 3-week continuance.
You're talking about a continuance of the hearing today?
Yes, Judge, that's correct. So I can file a motion and TDCJ can have them available to offer testimony in 3 weeks from now, because they need a 2 weeks notice before they can make the person available.
Well, I've already signed an order for him to participate in the trial, and we have a trial set on September 1st. Is there something he's going to relay to the court between now and then that would, I'm not saying what the court's going to do. I don't know what I'll do, depending on what the evidence is, but he'll certainly have the opportunity at the time of trial to express whatever his desires are relating to the child. I guess I'm not clear why there's a need for him to be. I typically don't have parents who are incarcerated in the TDCJ brought for permanency hearings. They certainly have a right to participate in the trial, and I've already entered an order to allow that, but I'm not clear why he needs to be here for a permanency hearing. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Judge. So he has very, I've had an opportunity to visit with my clients on 2 different occasions over the phone, and he has very specific concerns as to how the case is going and how things are going. And he would just like to express to the court and offer testimony as to what he thinks will be in the best interest of his child. Yes, I am aware that the judge signed the order for him to be present in final trial. For the purposes of our permanency hearing now, he does have wishes he wishes to express to the court. There has been testimony from Mr. Davis that has come out as to what my client's wishes are or had been in the past. Those have changed, and I think it would be important for the court to listen to those as soon as possible. So we just asked for a 3-week continuance. And I am aware of the court's um, uh, patterns of people who are in TDCJ custody, but I'll ask the court to respectfully make an exception for that if the judge thinks is appropriate.
And I don't want to get into your specific attorney-client communications, but is he wanting to advocate for a different placement of the child other than with his mother at this point? I'm not talking about whether he relinquishes or not, or his rights are terminated. I'm just talking about as the current placement.
I think as far as placement is concerned, it'll be fine with his mother at the moment. The part that is concerning to me as his attorney is whether or not he wants to relinquish his rights or anything of that sort, or what his wishes are for the child long term.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your request, but I'm gonna deny the motion. That's not normal practice to do that, and I don't see a compelling reason to do that since we have a trial coming up. He'll have a full opportunity to participate in the trial pursuant to the court's order and to express whatever his evidence is and desires are relating to the child, whether it's to remain with his mother for another placement, whether he has any desire to relinquish or not, or change of heart. I don't have a position on that at this point. And I won't until trial. So he'll have an opportunity at that point, but I'm going to deny your motion at this time.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Keenum, did you have any other witness you want to call?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Holguin, did you have other witness you want to call or address for today's hearing?
If I just may, please call Mr. Davis just very briefly.
Okay, you can ask any question. Go ahead. Thank you.
Mr. Davis,
Yes,
can you please one more time? I was writing it down. What is the department's current goal in relates to Preston, the minor child?
relative adoption with Miss Palos.
Okay. Have you heard? When was the last time you heard from Mr. Gutierrez as to what? When was the last time you heard from him?
It's been a long since back in the beginning of the case since he's written a letter to me.
So
He typically doesn't respond to letters.
So is that 2019?
It'd probably be 2019, beginning of 2020. That was the last time he talked to me, and at that time he said he was in agreement with his mom keeping him and all that. So I haven't been able to discuss with him because he doesn't respond any further than that.
Have you made any attempts to set up a phone call with him by chance?
No, I send letters and I send self-addressed stamped envelopes with them so that he can write back.
Okay. Are you aware of TDCJ's ability to speak to somebody that's in their custody, usually within 48 hours?
I have done that when they've written me a letter back to give me there's a PIN number that they give. I usually get that in a letter form from the inmate.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Gutierrez has completed any services he was asked to complete?
I know of no services. The only thing he's done, he did return the waiver of service to me.
Okay. So you would be surprised if he's actually been able to do services?
I wouldn't be surprised. I just wouldn't know because he hasn't returned any of that to me.
Okay. Nothing further from this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Keenum. Did you have any additional questions for Mr. Davis?
How long is Mr. Gutierrez sentenced for?
I believe somewhere in the vicinity of 30 years, 35 years.
No further questions.
Mr. Holguin, did you have any other witness you want to call?
No witness, no questions, and no witnesses, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. But the court will continue the current orders in place. The department remains as temporary managing conservator with the child remain in the current placement with Ms. Palace at this point. Ms. Palace, anything you'd like the court to know about the child or anything you need at this time?
No, Preston is really happy where he's at. He's always told us that he loves it there. He loves having his own room. He likes the fact that, he doesn't have to share his room with anybody else. He's a happy little boy. We love having him.
Okay, well, good. Thank you for all you're doing for him while this is going on. I appreciate that. All right. Mr. Davis, you may want to get with Mr. Holguin. Mr. Holguin was only recently appointed. If y'all want to try to set up some phone conference with the father before, certainly you may want to try to do that to make sure you have current information from him prior to the trial as to what his position is on the case. And as I indicated before, the court has signed an order for him to be able to participate by Zoom video conference in the trial that's set September 1st, 2021 at 4 p.m.